Greetings, my friends. Thank you for watching this video, and if you would be so kind, please subscribe if you like what you see. Help our channel to keep growing and keep fighting the war to save pop culture. Together, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. Enjoy, and thanks. Rings of Power is a steaming pile of crap. Full stop. There is no excuse for it, given the enormous resources that Amazon invested in this thing, and even worse, there is no one reason as to why it sucks. Obviously, for die-hard Tolkien fans and for those who care about fidelity to Western literature and culture, as it has existed for roughly the past 100 years, the canon corruption and cultural vandalism on display in this garbage series is unforgivable. That is beyond dispute. But beyond that, this is a series that genuinely has nothing to recommend it to even the normiest of normie viewers. The script moves at the pace of a disabled snail on Valium. The acting is, with a few notable exceptions, on a CW Batwoman level. The action sequences were filmed by someone who, apparently, even gets motion sick in a comfy chair, because the action is lame, unimaginative, and seemingly filmed in a safe space. Although the snowflake playing Galadriel needed therapy for the PTSD she developed after shooting these tepid in-action scenes, and no, I'm not kidding. Can you imagine would need therapy waiting 8 hours to shoot a 5-second action scene with an entire crew standing around chewing gum and looking bored? Poor thing needs a safe space inside her safe space to feel safe from unsafe safety. But I digress. Ironically, the one thing they should have gotten right, given the enormous amount of money spent on this trash, is the visuals. But everything looks phony as hell, with the exception of Khazad-dûm, and the actors never look properly merged with their CGI backgrounds. It looks phony as hell, it's boring, it's badly acted, and the action is shit on a very short stick. And yet, the mainstream media claims that we're review bombing the Rings of Power? Seriously? These shills are out of their minds! Early on, in the pop culture wars that gave birth to Doomcock's YouTube channel, the shill media was better able to gaslight us all with positive reviews for woke crap that was embarrassingly substandard. In those earlier days, it was much harder for pop culture warriors such as myself to say the Emperor has no clothes. We weren't as yet hip to their lies and trickery. In those days, fans couldn't help but question themselves. Fans knew that shit like Star Trek Discovery was garbage and in no way Star Trek, and yet every media outlet bought and paid for or intimidated into corporate compliance was extolling the virtues of Star Trek Discovery, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, lying on behalf of their corporate overlords, and all of us were on isolated little islands, alone with our feeling that we were out of touch with the world, when in fact we were the world, and the shill media was simply out of touch with us. But now, after years of the pop culture wars, we have finally developed an immunity to their bullshit. We no longer even listen to these liars. The damn Emperor still has no clothes, and we fucking well say so, and we don't give a damn what feedback we get in the media or how they slander us. As a result, they have gotten even more desperate, my friends, and they have changed tactics from trying to gaslight fans into just shutting us up. Case in point, Amazon's Board of the Rings of Power. This is a perfect case study for the simple reason that anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear can tell that this show has nothing to recommend it. Honestly and objectively, this is a show so bad for the reasons I mentioned that even normies don't have to be convinced, as it turns out that being bored is a human trait, common to human beings, geniuses and dumbasses alike. You have but to watch 20 minutes of this pointless exercise in visual ambient to know, yeah, this isn't for me, and changed the channel. And yet, Amazon has invested $1 billion into this misbegotten exercise in ultimate failure, and so they're not going gentle into that bad night, and they're fighting back by deleting negative fan reviews and comments across various platforms and hitting back hard with hilarious shill media articles like the one I'm about to trash from Forbes. But let me tell you, this is not merely censorship, folks. This is thought control on a level of the Ministry of Truth in 1984. They want to isolate us yet again on our own islands. They don't want us to realize that we're not alone in loathing this show. They don't want us reaching out to each other and confirming our privately held prognoses on this terminal series. Consider, for a moment, this email I just received this morning from one of my viewers. This perfectly illustrates Amazon's 1984 level censorship at work, not only at Amazon, but on other platforms that fear Amazon's wrath. Here is the experience of one viewer. Quote, "My lord, a little intelligence report. Metacritic will not allow me to do a Rings of Power review. When I click submit, I get 404 error. It has been that way since I first tried on Friday. On Rotten Tomatoes, if I go to the Rings of Power Season 1 page, I can see my lengthy review in the box where you write reviews. However, the review does not show up among the user reviews. And if I go to my profile, the review does not appear there either. Dittos for my STD review. I also note that nearly all reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are by people who have no other reviews. That cuts both ways. In fact, the pro-review bombing appears to be more prevalent than the anti. I could only find 3 5-star reviews by people with any other reviews. I am a normie. I have read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but I know nothing of the prequel lore. I was totally lost and found the show was boring. The 5-minute opening sequence was horrible. Then some trees with some critical function that was never explained get destroyed by someone never explained in a manner never explained that causes some unexplained consequence that forces the elves to sail. Maybe, if you know the prequel lore, you know what is going on, but the people who do are upset in how it ignores the lore." Unquote. Amazon, Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, all of these entities are closing their doors in one way or another to user reviews. They don't want honesty because they can't control honesty. They don't want truth. They want to monopolize information outlets so that they can brand any lie they want as the truth without dissent. It's getting harder and harder for fans to have their voices heard because their voices threaten big corporate brothers' ability to lie with impunity. And yet, there is Doomcock. Most people do not have a YouTube channel like Doomcock does. Well, I think my viewers should have their voice. In light of this, I have a new series I'm planning to experiment with to better give voice to my viewers. Look for the first installment sometime in the next week, but for now, no. You're not wrong, my friends. Rings of Power is a disgrace. And that brings me to the latest bullshit attempt to gaslight us in the media. You know an article is trash when it starts with a headline that's a lie. Such is the case with an article that was uploaded on Forbes, and the lie du jour is Rings of Power is getting review bombed so hard, Amazon suspended reviews entirely. It's really kind of amusing reading through this thing as the writer keeps missing the glaringly obvious point that completely trashes his thesis, and yet is pathologically unable to see the flaw in his thinking. It's astonishing how blind this article is to the simple, obvious truth, and I want to show you a prime example, pun intended, of shillery in the corporate enslaved mainstream media. Quote, Amazon is not amused about the fanboy wars that have surrounded its billion-dollar Lord of the Rings series, Rings of Power. Unlike its rival House of the Dragon, Rings of Power has become the latest front in the review bombing wars, the most recent since, She-Hulk. This happens a lot, okay? The Rings of Power is getting slammed essentially everywhere that accepts fan reviews. I wonder why. On Rotten Tomatoes, while its critic score is 84%, it has a 36% audience score. On IMDb, which Amazon owns, it has a 6.2 out of 10, with 25% of reviews being 1 star. On Amazon itself, it has nothing, because Amazon has disabled reviews of the series entirely. And then this clown says, why are fans mad this time? Take your pick of reasons. It's a combination of racism, misogyny, and supposed unfaithfulness to Tolkien's original work. Well, there's nothing supposed about it, you piece of shit. Sometimes all 3 of these reasons are the same. I'm not saying any of this is correct or even the majority opinion of fans, but it all feeds into the reasons for the flood of low scores for the series. This does seem to be at a level that House of Dragon has managed to avoid, even as it faced similar controversies, but we haven't seen the same level of backlash compared to what's happening with Rings of Power, unquote. Well, gee, you fucking corporate shill, could it maybe be that there's a 4th reason? The Rings of Power fucking sucks. Could that possibly be the reason, do you think? This article considered every single reason under the sun why Rings of Power is getting slammed by user reviews, except the simple and glaring one that it sucks. Let me pose this very elementary question. How could we ever tell by the logic of this writer if a show actually did suck? This clown never even hints at that as a possibility. But if in the future a show did suck, now that we have this whole fake news review bomb bullshit excuse to apply to any contrary opinions, how can anyone ever signal legitimately in the eyes of clowns like this guy that a show actually sucks? By this criterion, there will always be this excuse when fans don't like something. It can always be attributed to racism, sexism, hate speech, blah, blah, blah. But if there is no longer ever going to be the possibility allowed that something actually genuinely sucks, then we are all living in a state of perpetual gaslight, and the casualty here is truth. When truth is no longer an acceptable or even desired metric, everything is pointless. It is the death of debate, the death of critique, the death of criticism, and the death of art itself, because feedback is how we keep score on matters of aesthetics. Amazon is saying that the opinions of thousands of fans are wrong, that your opinions are wrong, if they go against the opinion of one corporation. My friends, welcome to 1984. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.